Top 5 Best Pancake Lenses. Number 5. Nikon AF NIKKOR 50mm f1.8D. A lens roundup wouldn't be the same if there wasn't a Nikon inclusion, but the problem here is that Nikon does not produce a dedicated pancake lens. For the purists, a pancake lens only has size and weight advantages, but for Nikon owners, there is the option of the Nikon AF NIKKOR 50mm f1.8D. Built to the dimensions of a regular old-school 50mm lens, the AF NIKKOR 50mm f1.8D weighs in at only 155 grams, has a healthy f1.8 aperture, and the optics are fantastic for the price. This lens has fully manual workings if the camera in question doesn't have a built-in autofocus motor, which is no bad thing for practice purposes. An aspherical lens and a super integrated coating handled the majority of lens anomalies, while the wide f1.8 aperture can produce some very good bokeh. This lens has lots of potential for landscapes to portraits, or as a general walkabout lens, at a price that is affordable to most. It may not be a true pancake lens, but at least it's an offering from Nikon as a lightweight solution and costs the least on this list. Coming in number 4. Panasonic Lumix G20mm f1.72 ASPH. For Panasonic's Micro Four Thirds system, you have the option of the 14mm or the Panasonic Lumix G20mm f1.72 ASPH. The 20mm version has an equivalent focal length of 40mm, making it more useful as a general walkabout lens. This lens is ultra lightweight at 87 grams, with 7 elements arranged in 5 groups, a 7-blade rounded diaphragm, and very wide and bright f1.7 aperture. The 20mm f1.72 is also built well, with a metal construction and a fast autofocus motor, which is more adept than its compact form would indicate. Sharpness levels in the center and edges may not be the same quality levels as the rest on this list, but for Panasonic people, this lens is extremely fun to use and makes for a reasonable walkabout lens. Coming in number 3. FUJINON XF 27mm f2.8. Fujifilm likes the pancake design as the company has 2 offerings in the form of the FUJINON XF 18mm f2 and the FUJINON XF 27mm f2.8. These 2 lenses offer a more wide-angle view of the world, with the 27mm version being more versatile than the 18mm offering. On the APS-C format X-mount cameras, the focal length comes in at an equivalent 41mm, with a bright f2.8 aperture, 1 aspherical element, and super EBC coating. This lens is super lightweight at only 78 grams. With such a compact form factor, you will easily think that your camera is now a compact solution. The price point isn't exactly budget level, but this is reflected in the optics, providing great image quality for the price, along with creamy backgrounds blur when the aperture is wide open. Images are the sharpest in the middle of the aperture range, but apart from a little edge distortion, are still very sharp in the center at f2.8. This lens ultimately provides respectable image quality, while also being the lightest offering on the list. Coming in number 2. Sony Sonnar T FE 35mm f2.8 ZA. For the Sony Alpha users out there, the most obvious choice on this platform is the Sony Sonnar T FE 35mm f2.8 ZA. The clear stamp of quality is shown with the Zeiss logo, featuring a Zeiss T anti-reflective coating and 3 double-sided aspherical lens to reduce flaring and ghosting. A linear autofocus motor is quick to lock into focus, while also being very quiet in operation, which will ideally suit video recordings. The lens barrel is dust and moisture sealed and weighing in at only 120 grams, it makes for an extremely light overall package with a Sony Alpha camera body. The lens is also quite pricey for this format, but in return you do get excellent optics, a versatile focal length, and of course the Carl Zeiss stamp of approval. Overall, this lens provides great image quality in a lightweight form. Coming in number 1. Canon EF 40mm f2.8 STM. When it comes to thin and compact lenses, you can't do better than the Canon EF 40mm f2.8 STM for price and features. This lens is ridiculously lightweight at 130 grams and at only 22mm in length. the accompanying lens caps in reality take up more length than the lens itself. This lens can be used on both full-frame and crop sensor cameras. 64mm equivalent, boasts a fast aperture of f2.8, and comes with a regular 52mm filter thread. A stepper-type motor is used for autofocusing, with an AF or MF switch, which may not be the quietest version around, but is still quick to hit focus. The aperture of f2.8 is wide enough to produce respectable bokeh effects, while the 40mm focal length is a nice happy medium for everyday use. It's also quite amazing that Canon has packed worthy 40mm workings into such a small design, while still producing respectable images. Basically, this is a very affordable and convenient way to capture discreet street photography or for travel.